says India stands for dialogue and diplomacy, not war, reiterates the message of peace. BRICS is not divisive but a grouping for the public good, says the Prime Minister in the plenary session. And Prime Minister Modi addresses Indian diaspora, says the world is moving towards a new world order. Hi viewers, I'm joined by Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor, who is giving us all the latest and the insights on this very important bilateral meeting. Abhishek, of course, the talks are right now underway and they have their own significance. Icebreaker talks, as they are being called, in Kazan, that is happening right now. First meet in 5 years and focus on the 3 Ds, that is disengagement, de-escalation, and of course thereafter this de-induction. That will be as far as the border issue is concerned. There's lots more that is expected to take place in terms of the discussion between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, isn't it?
Well, and that's in fact happening. In fact, for all we know, Rakshita, we might be coming to an end of the bilateral that's happening as we speak. About 30 minutes was slotted, and we are already looking at about 20 minutes done, unless it gets extended and the two leaders have a longish conversation, which of course might be kept for later, which means that it's likely that the two sides might announce that with this icebreaker meeting that's happening on the sidelines of the Brics Summit in Russia, the two leaders have decided to resume their annual dialogue, which would be a huge takeaway coming out of this meeting. Coming back to your mentioning of the 3 Ds, the disengagement, de-escalation and de-induction, let's wait for a while, let's hold our horses, because we'll have to read between the lines. We'll have to understand through the body language of the Chinese delegation how much we can trust them, because despite all the attempts made at firming up our relationship in all its aspects, including people-to-people contact, including trade and economy, and including global coordination on global affairs, the Chinese did carry out the Galwan military misadventure. And while India has stood up to that, India has sent a strong message that we can respond militarily, that we can inflict economic costs as well, that we can wear the enemy out, that we can have a long drawn dialogue with a lot of patience and perseverance, and we can deftly handle the global diplomatic fallout. I think we are getting a statement of Prime Minister Modi that he made earlier at the BRICS plenary session. Let's listen in.
नए स्वरूप में ब्रिक्स विश्व की 40% मानवता और लगभग 30% अर्थव्यवस्था का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है। पिछले लगभग 2 दशकों में ब्रिक्स ने अनेक उपलब्धियां हासिल की हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में यह संगठन वैश्विक चुनौतियों का सामना करने के लिए और अधिक प्रभावी माध्यम बनकर के उभरेगा। नए स्वरूप में ब्रिक्स विश्व की 40% मानवता और लगभग 30% अर्थव्यवस्था का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है। पिछले लगभग 2 दशकों में ब्रिक्स ने अनेक उपलब्धियां हासिल की हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में यह संगठन वैश्विक चुनौतियों का सामना करने के लिए और अधिक प्रभावी माध्यम बनकर के उभरेगा।
Well, that was Prime Minister Narendra Modi there making, in fact, sending out a strong message on terror as well. Also talking about the new global order. And remember, India positioning itself as a leader of the global south. Remember, Brics, he has talked about it. He has hailed about the Brics. He has hailed Brics as a grouping, as a group, that as a union which is not divisive, but it actually works for the welfare. It is something that is for the global good. And also, of course, we will be joined by our special guest also on the broadcast. Abhishek, of course, as you mentioned, the trust factor is very important. We've seen this in the past, what happened after 2018, 2019, and now this time, once again, there is a chance for a thaw, but there will be many challenges.
Of course, there are many challenges, and that's why, as I said, the caution is going to be the buzzword insofar as decision-making is concerned. As I was mentioning, Rakshita, even if the two leaderships and the two leaders are able to decide that, okay, fine, let's give instructions to the respective bureaucracies to build trust again and to take steps which bring an element of trust in the larger relationship, it would be an important takeaway. Whether as part of that, the two leaders decide to meet a little more often, because remember, this is the icebreaker meeting happening after a gap of 5 years. So whether this is going to sort of lead to a normalization of the kind where those kind of meetings can happen more often, as was happening till 2019 and before the Gulf War clash. Let's try to understand the geopolitical implications. Our guests continue to be with us. Andrew K.P. Leung, international independent China expert, strategist, live from Hong Kong. We also have retired Major General Bishambar Dayal with us, a defense expert, and of course, Dr. Rajan, who's professor of Center for Russian Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Very good evening to you all. And if I could begin with Dr. Rajan, you first. You think that the Russians might have played some nudge role in getting India and China to de-escalate in the manner that we did ahead of the Brics Summit so that the meeting could take place?
Abhishek, that's a very wonderful question, and Russians do play some kind of back-channel diplomacy. It's very difficult to confirm, and we do not have evidence to say that what kind of role Russia might have played. But during my earlier visit to Russia, Moscow, Doklam crisis, after Doklam crisis, I was informed that Russia also played some back-channel diplomacy. What role exactly Russia played in this particular case, I'm not really aware of it. But yes, there was a pressure on both the leaders, both the countries, to resolve the issue so that this the meeting of the two leaders can be possible. And that's exactly what has happened. And that's one of the advantages that you have when you have this kind of multilateral forum, where the issues are primarily multilateral, but again, there is a pressure on the leaders in the countries to maintain some kind of working functional relationship so that it doesn't become embarrassing to the countries. So from my perspective, this is a breakthrough meeting. This is an important meeting between India and China. Whether we can take it forward and normalize the relationship that you were referring to just a few minutes back, that I'm not certain, because let's remember that China is a competitor, China is a neighbor, China is also a rival in terms of politics, in terms of ideology, in terms of economic models, etc. So those things will continue. But again, we have had a very cordial relation in the history, in the past. So there is no reason to believe that why we cannot restore normalcy in the ties between the two countries. Beyond that, if you allow me just 1 minute. So what are the takeaways from the Brics, apart from the bilateral, this meeting? That's important, bilateral. But again, there are two, three takeaways from this meeting from geopolitical perspective. The first, most important in my view, is that Russia has proved that it is not a pariah state. As you know, that Russian leaders are not invited in many countries. ICC issued a kind of arrest warrant. So Russia was isolated. Now Russia can claim that it's not isolated. The second, important message from this meeting is that the alternative organization, a very successful political organization, can be created by the non-Western countries. We do not have many examples, and NAM and G77, etc. They are not very effective. And the third, the message being sent by these countries, by this grouping to the West and to the entire world is that global institutions must reform.
Yeah. I think we lost the line there, but that was an important point Professor Rajan was making about restructuring, reforming global institutions. And in fact, that gets reflected in the Kazan declaration that we are breaking. And if I could come to Major General Bishambar Dayal on that. Actually, to Mr. Loong first, and then to Major General Bishambar Dayal in a bit. Andrew K.P. Loong, you know, I'm going through the Kazan declaration. It says emergence of new centers of power has to be acknowledged because they can lay foundations for a new world order. So the Kazan declaration actually is asking for a new world order to take shape. And then it says that we are concerned about negative impact of unilateral illegitimate measures. And also it talks about a fair, inclusive and open multilateral trading system. So I think the Kazan declaration's accent is on multipolarity, on a new world order. And then, of course, it targets the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and IMF by saying that we need a more open, more fair, more inclusive global trading system.
Well, as I said right at the beginning, this BRICS meeting is not so much about bilateral relations, but about broad principles that govern, that need to govern the global order, which is now increasingly fractured with the global South experiencing decades of marginalization by a powerful Western bloc, led by, of course, the United States with its unilateralism and American exceptionalism. Now, the world has now changed quite a lot, especially in recent months, years and not months. This is exemplified by recent development, and look at how the major flashpoints are playing out in Ukraine, in the Middle East, over Gaza. And of course, the historic rapprochement brokered by China between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and the rise of a number of African countries, the rise of countries in South America, the rise of countries, of course, including India and other major Asian nations. So there are important nodes of power around the world that makes the world a more balanced kind of order, rather than being under the thumb of one country, says it all, and one country calling all the shots. So the kind of American unilateralism, or what is sometimes called American unipolar moment, has well and truly passed. And what is now seeing is the emergence of a more multipolar, but yet mutually independent global order. It doesn't mean that they all form into a bloc, because the idea of blocks doesn't work anymore in an interconnected world. And also this idea about one side is winning, the other side is losing, is now losing its legitimacy, because there's no such a thing as win or lose in the world increasingly connected. There are lessons for China to learn from India, and likewise lessons to learn by India from China, and the same applies between Russia and China. And I said earlier, in the earlier section, there are territorial disputes between Russia and China. And even now, after all these border disputes have been resolved between Russia and China, there's still a historical baggage in the Russian Far East. And let's not forget that half of the Russian Far East was seized from the Qing dynasty. And
there are lessons, Andrew K.P. Loong, there are lessons for China to learn from the United States also, because it's essentially American unilateralism, if you say, versus Chinese belligerence that we are seeing playing out almost in entire neighborhood of China. A 360-degree review, if you do, of China's neighborhood, you realize that China is at loggerheads in terms of territorial disputes with everyone, including the tiny Bhutan, who literally threatens a small, peaceful country like Bhutan. But let me get in Major Bishambar Dayal on that. Very good evening to you, sir. Okay, we're getting a breaking news development. I'm coming to you, sir. Just hold on for a bit. And the breaking news development is in connection with... okay, Rakshita does that.
Yes, Abhishek. Well, we are getting the details on the Kazan declaration. And in fact, we are going to tell what the Kazan declaration supports Prime Minister's WTO reform call. In fact, it focuses on the global south and terror issues. It was adopted by the BRICS nation. It seeks collective answers to global and regional challenges and security threats. It includes terrorism. India there leading the charge at Kazan. The Kazan declaration clearly in full support of Prime Minister's call for reform to WTO, and of course the focus being on global south and terror issues. Remember, the Prime Minister today had spoken about how there is no space for any double standards on terrorism. There cannot be any double standards on terrorism. There's a need to collectively fight the radicalization among the youth. And here we have the declaration focusing on what the Prime Minister was conveying today at the Brics Summit. It's also on the Israel-Hamas conflict, what we saw. BRICS reiterates grave concerns at the deterioration of the situation and humanitarian crisis in the occupied Palestinian territory, in particular the unprecedented escalation of violence in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank as a result of the Israeli offensive. Abhishek, of course, focal point being terrorism and, of course, global south. And this clearly shows how BRICS continues to be a counterweight somewhere to the West. Abhishek.
Well, yes, absolutely. And we'll continue this conversation. I have to go to General Bishambar Dayal. And in fact, let me go to him if you're not taking the break. Okay, we have to take a break. Sir, sorry, but stay with us. Coming after a short break. Right, be right back.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
Okay, these are pictures of the bilateral that took place between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping. Look at the pictures, and if we can keep rolling those pictures. There's the handshake between the two, and the delegation level talks on the side of India. Prime Minister accompanied with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. We also have other leaders, and this is the moment when the two leaders came face to face. Xi Jinping inviting Prime Minister for the handshake in front of the flags. Prime Minister came with his hand extended for the handshake, and Xi Jinping guiding him to the flags. These are the delegations, respective delegations. We identified some more of the people. And on the Chinese side, I can't see Wang Yi. Wang Yi is there, yes, of course, the foreign minister and the interlocutor of the president for the boundary talks. He's the one who has been talking to both Jaishankar and Doval. And he's present there in the delegation talks that took place. Lasted for about 50 minutes. That's a huge one, and we have to discuss that because the original time allotted for the bilateral was 30 minutes, went on for 45 minutes, and then it has gone on for longer. Let me just give you an idea of how long these talks have gone on. And the talks started exactly at 5:32 p.m. India time, and the talks concluded at 6:20 p.m. or 6:18 p.m. India time. Karan, can you help me calculate how much this amounts to? From effectively 5:30 to 6:20 is 50 minutes, and reduce 4 minutes from that. So that's about 46 minutes. 46 minutes of bilateral talks taking place between the two sides. Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping leading, and that's a lot of time meeting for the first time. Okay, let's...
Important for both sides to have more communication and cooperation, properly handle differences and disagreements, and to facilitate each other's pursuit of development aspirations. It's also important for both sides to shoulder our international responsibility, set an example for boosting the strength and unity of the developing countries, and to contribute to promoting multipolarization and democracy in international relations.
我愿同总理先生就两国关系和共同关心的问题交换意见。
Mr. Prime Minister, I'm prepared to exchange views with Your Excellency on our bilateral relationship and issues of mutual interest.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपसे मिलकर खुशी है, और जैसा आपने कहा 5 साल के बाद हमारी ये फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है। हमारा मानना है कि भारत और चीन के संबंधों का महत्व केवल हमारे लोगों के लिए ही नहीं, लेकिन वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और प्रगति के लिए भी हमारे संबंध बहुत अहम है। एक्सेलेंसी, सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए। आज इन सभी विषयों पर बात करने का अवसर मिला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि हम खुले मन से बातचीत करेंगे और हमारी चर्चा कंस्ट्रक्टिव होगी। धन्यवाद।
तो दोनों नेताओं के बीच ये मुलाकात हुई है रूस के शहर।
Play out again. Play out again. All right, so those were opening comments by the respective leaders, President Xi Jinping of China and Prime Minister Modi of India. Prime Minister there underscoring that India and China relationship is important for world peace, prosperity and stability, and that really gives you an idea of why this meeting is happening after 5 years. we also saw Xi Jinping, Karan, mention about how the two countries should come together to promote multipolarity and democracy in international relations and should shoulder international responsibility. So I think the Chinese have a broader agenda while India, because remember, Prime Minister in his first statement itself said that we welcome what has happened on the border issue up and in the last few days, and he brought it up front and talked about why the border is important, that we discuss it with an open mind and threadbare, and he said that this is an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. And Abhishek, let's understand this. India hasn't relented on any of its stances. Throughout these 4 years, India has kept its patience, and today it's China that needs it far more than India to actually strike a friendly note with India. China today finds it isolated at many fronts. It is staring at a recession. It is seeing the growing strength of the Quad, and with probably a Trump re-election looming large, it also stares at tariffs, which have continued, by the way, under the Joe Biden regime also. So China needs India in every sense as a trading partner, where it enjoys a trade surplus of close to $100 billion. And also because the world today, in terms of supply chain, has been looking at China plus one. So China cannot afford to have a hostile relationship with India.
The Chinese are scared that this in China plus one strategy could have harmed them, and India was that plus one, so why not have it on our side? Let's listen to exactly what the Prime Minister said. Shawan, in the meanwhile, gets wired up and joins me in the broadcast. Let's listen to Prime Minister first.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपसे मिलकर खुशी है, और जैसा आपने कहा 5 साल के बाद हमारी ये फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है। हमारा मानना है कि भारत और चीन के संबंधों का महत्व केवल हमारे लोगों के लिए ही नहीं, लेकिन वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और प्रगति के लिए भी हमारे संबंध बहुत अहम है। एक्सेलेंसी, सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए। आज इन सभी विषयों पर बात करने का अवसर मिला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि हम खुले मन से बातचीत करेंगे और हमारी चर्चा कंस्ट्रक्टिव होगी।
Well, a historic Brics Summit. Here at Republic TV, we join hands with Russia's biggest broadcaster, Russia Today, to get you a sense of what's really happening in Kazan. Joining us on this broadcast is Ruslan, who also happens to be the India editor, currently in Kazan, giving us a sense of what's really happening on the ground. First to you, Ruslan, in terms of the big takeaways. Almost every world leader has essentially described the BRICS as a formation of the new world order and ending the Russian isolation. Your thoughts on this, the big takeaways from the 2 days of the BRICS Summit?
Hi, Shaban. Thanks, first of all, for having me on. I'd say one of the biggest takeaways so far has been indeed the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping on the sidelines of this summit. But I'm just going through the Kazan Declaration. They've just published it. It's 43 pages long, and it's as extensive as it can be. It covers a wide range of all topics that concern the global south, that concern the equitable development of the world, the global representation, or the equitable representation, deepening financial economic cooperation. It covers everything. I would say this is the biggest takeaway so far. Also, one of the biggest takeaways is that each country has a seat at the table. Everyone is being listened to. Everyone is being heard. In that sense, I would say this Kazan summit is historic.
Ruslan, with regards to the Kazan declaration, as you say, that it is as emphatic as it can get. But the bigger takeaway also, one, the discussion over the Brics payment, which would essentially what the Russian president has been talking about, bringing an end to the Western hegemony. What's the big takeaway on that front?
Well, again, as I've said, I'm just going through this declaration that's just been published, so I'm yet to cover this specific point of that. But we've definitely heard Russia's President Vladimir Putin to offer some mechanism or some payment system or some investment fund for the BRICS. I would say this is one of the underlying themes of this summit and maybe of this BRICS group in the last couple of years, that the countries have been dissatisfied with the global dominance.
Excellency President Xi Jinping, the President of the People's Republic of China. We have also put out a press release which should be available very shortly on the website of the Ministry of External Affairs if it is not there already. So as you all know, earlier today, in fact just a short while ago, Prime Minister Modi met with President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the 16th Brics Summit. This was their first proper bilateral meeting at delegation level in nearly 5 years, the last one being on the sidelines of the Brics Summit in Brasilia in 2019. So let me just flag some points made by the two leaders during their meeting. This meeting happened, as you are all aware, close on the heels of the disengagement and patrolling agreement and the resolution of issues that had arisen in the India-China border areas in 2020. Naturally, the two leaders welcomed the agreement reached between the two sides through sustained dialogue over the last several weeks in diplomatic as well as military channels. Prime Minister Modi underscored the importance of not allowing differences on boundary-related matters to disturb peace and tranquility on our borders. And in this context, the two leaders noted that the special representatives on the India-China boundary question have a critical role to play in the resolution of the boundary question and for the maintenance of peace and tranquility in the border areas. Accordingly, they instructed the special representatives to meet at an early date and to continue their efforts in this regard. You may recall that Special Representative of India, Mr. Ajit Doval, who is also the National Security Advisor, and the Special Representative of the People's Republic of China, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, also a member of the Politburo, have met on the sidelines of international events, but they have not had a round of talks in the Special Representatives format since December 2019. So following today's meeting, we hope to schedule the next round of the SR's talks at an appropriate date. The two leaders also reviewed the state of bilateral relations from a strategic and long-term perspective. They were of the view that stable bilateral relations between India and China, the two largest nations on earth, will have a positive impact on regional and global peace and prosperity. And both of them stressed that with maturity and wisdom, and by showing mutual respect for each other's sensitivities, interests, concerns, and aspirations, the two countries can have a peaceful, stable, and beneficial bilateral relationship. As we have maintained during the last 4 years, the restoration of peace and tranquility in the border areas will create space for returning us towards the path of normalization of our bilateral relations. Officials will now take the next steps to discuss enhancing strategic communication and stabilizing bilateral relations by utilizing the relevant official bilateral dialogue mechanisms, including at the level of our respective foreign ministers. The two leaders also briefly reviewed regional and international developments of mutual concern and interest. They agreed to maintain close communication in this regard. Naturally, they also had a very productive exchange on BRICS and the potential for India and China to enhance cooperation on this particular platform. And in closing, Prime Minister Modi also assured India's full support to China's SCO presidency next year in 2025. Let me stop there and request my colleague, our Sherpa for BRICS, to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. I'll be very brief in the interest of the time. But let me just focus on the Honorable Prime Minister's visit to Kazan for the 16th Brics Summit, which was at the invitation of President Putin. The theme of the Brics Summit, as you all know, that strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. Today, there have been two sessions in which Prime Minister participated. One is a closed plenary session, and the second one is open plenary session. Open plenary session included also representatives of businesses of all the member countries, as well as the financial institution representatives in the open session. At the end of the open session, the leaders adopted the Kazan Declaration, and the declaration captures the various elements and diverse elements discussed by the leaders during these sessions. It recognizes the reform for the UN and multilateral institutions. In particular, it recognizes the Johannesburg Declaration and reaffirmed the support for member countries' aspiration to be permanent members of the UN Security Council. Cooperation in the financial sector was another element, which also included elements like payment settlements in national currencies. And climate change was another area of interest for all the leaders. There was a lot of views expressed, and also combating terrorism. Prime Minister, in his remarks, clearly brought out the importance of people-centric BRICS cooperation. That was his emphasis, and the fact that the leaders have agreed to finalize list of partner countries in the expanded BRICS membership, it was welcomed. The modalities have also been finalized. So with the expansion of the BRICS, as you all know, that this is the first time that BRICS in an expanded format are meeting. The 9 members currently which have met this time. So you will have an additional partner countries. The list will be out in the net. So what it means to us is also inclusivity, diversity in the BRICS, and brings in the dimension of the global south right in the center of the BRICS discussions and discourse. So development becomes central. Prime Minister's remarks included the importance of global south. He also mentioned about the India's initiatives that have been appreciated within BRICS. For example, the Startup Forum, the Skilled Workforce, the Research and Development Vaccine Center, digital health, and the digital public infrastructure solutions, which are low-cost solutions for the interest of the countries of the global south. He also touched upon India's own initiatives, for example, the International Solar Alliance, the Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure, and the Lifestyle for Environment. He urged the members of the BRICS to actually participate in these initiatives. As you know, Brazil is going to take over the chairship next year. Prime Minister wished the Brazilian President Lula all the very best for the success of the Brazilian chairship, and India will fully support in that process. Thank you very much.
We open the floor for questions.
Randeep, just couple of questions because some of us literally have a plane to catch.
Okay. So Gaurav, please.
Sir, my name is Gaurav Sawant. I work for India Today and Aaj Tak. Sir, my question is, how will this meeting lead to easing of situation along the LAC? Is there need for new confidence building measures? Will there be new confidence building measures? And will soldiers spend the fifth year at the LAC in these freezing winters? The additional 50,000 odd troops on either side.
सर, मैं विशाल पांडे हूं एबीपी न्यूज से। मेरा सवाल यह है कि आज प्रधानमंत्री मोदी और शी जिनपिंग की मुलाकात के बाद क्या यह कहा जा सकता है कि भारत और चीन के बीच रिश्ते अब सामान्य हो गए हैं, और इसी से जुड़ा हुआ कि क्या चीन पर भरोसा किया जा सकता है?
Gaurav, insofar as your question is concerned, it is certainly our expectation that as a result of not only the agreement that was arrived at just a couple of days ago between Indian and Chinese diplomatic and military negotiators, but also as a result of the endorsement of that agreement at the highest leader level possible between the two countries, as happened in the meeting today, where both Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping welcomed the efforts that were made by Indian and Chinese negotiators and the results that were achieved by that. I think these should certainly lead to an easing of the situation along the LAC. Insofar as your question related to confidence building measures is concerned, we have a number of confidence building measures, and these evolve continuously as the two sides engage once again in multiple formats. This is certainly a subject that I think will be under discussion between the two sides. Your last question about whether soldiers will be at the LAC for the fifth year, I would defer this question to our military leadership, because this relates to operational matters, and I think it would be best that we let our military leaders dwell on this particular issue. Vishal, आपका जो सवाल था, क्या हमारे जो रिश्ते हैं वो सामान्य की तरफ या सामान्य हो जाएंगे, मैं इतना ही कह सकता हूं कि पिछले 2 दिन में जो कदम हमने उठाए हैं, और ये कदम पिछले 2 दिन से हमारे सामने हैं, लेकिन इन पे जो काम हुआ है वो काफी समय से काम चल रहा है। मैं ये कहूँगा कि इनसे हमारी एक तरह से जो प्रक्रिया है सामान्य रिश्ते बनाने के लिए, उनको वापस एक सामान्य रास्ते पे लाने के लिए वो यात्रा एक तरह से चल पड़ी है। जैसा मैंने अपने जो मैं पहले कह रहा था कि जो ये restoration of peace and tranquility in border areas will create space for returning towards the path of normalization, मैं यही मेरा तात्पर्य इसी चीज की तरफ था कि जो पीछे अभी समझौता हुआ है उससे ये रास्ता अब खुल गया है, रास्ते पे अब चलने की हम दोनों को आवश्यकता है। और जहां तक ट्रस्ट का सवाल है, जो हम दोनों के बीच आगे चल के प्रोसेस होगा, प्रतिक्रिया होगी, उससे ट्रस्ट, हमारी आशा है कि उससे ट्रस्ट बढ़ेगा हम दोनों के बीच में। धन्यवाद।
Sir, Siddhant from WION. Foreign Secretary, sir, my question is, the border pact, does it include Depsang and Depchok as well in terms of resolution? Also, in terms of confidence building measure, are we looking at the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra to the Sherpa, sir? How much the focus was on the payments mechanism in terms of alternate payments mechanism at the Brics meeting?
Runjhun Sharma, RT. The timing of the India-China agreement does it seem symbolic? Did Russia have a role to play here as a peacemaker?
Okay, Siddhant, insofar as these two points that you mentioned, Depsang and Demchok, look, I think if you see the statements that I have made over the last 48 to 72 hours, I think the answer should be quite clear. I have made the point that, the last time we had an agreement on the several issues that had arisen in the India-China border areas since 2020. The last agreement was in 2022, I think September, if I'm not mistaken. Since then, we had been involved in trying to find a resolution of the pending areas, the pending issues in the balance areas along the line of actual control, which pertain to these areas that you have mentioned. And the agreement that has been arrived at essentially pertains to these areas. Insofar as confidence-building measures are concerned and whether Kailash Mansarovar Yatra will be included in that, as I said today, the leaders have given instructions for various official and other bilateral mechanisms between the two countries to be activated. I'm sure this will be one of the issues that will be on the agenda of those discussions between the leaders. Runjhun, your question of the timing and the symbolism and the role, all I would say at this stage is that we are in Kazan. We are in Russia, and I think we can certainly thank Russia for providing the venue. Thank you.
So on the payment issue, I think we need to keep in mind that the global economic situation and the debt crisis that many countries are facing, keeping that in view, many leaders have expressed interest in both settlement of trade in national currencies and payment mechanisms. Again, our Prime Minister himself also said positively and constructively that we need to engage on that. We have a mechanism with few countries, and India has led the way in the fintech world. There's been a lot of interest in that space as well. But this is a very specific area where the Ministry of Finance, in particular the Department of Economic Affairs, is leading. They need to have a more expert-level interaction to concretize this activity among the BRICS countries. But I think in the year to come that might happen. Thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close of this session. Thank you very much for your participation.
That was the much-awaited briefing by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, and there it comes out that India and China are relaunching or restarting the boundary talks between special representatives of both the leaders, instructions being given by the two. And let's also listen into exactly what the Prime Minister said in those opening comments.
Excellency, आपसे मिलकर खुशी है, और जैसा आपने कहा 5 साल के बाद हमारी ये फॉर्मल मीटिंग हो रही है। हमारा मानना है कि भारत और चीन के संबंधों का महत्व केवल हमारे लोगों के लिए ही नहीं, लेकिन वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और प्रगति के लिए भी हमारे संबंध बहुत अहम है। एक्सेलेंसी, सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए। म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए। आज इन सभी विषयों पर बात करने का अवसर मिला है। मुझे विश्वास है कि हम खुले मन से बातचीत करेंगे और हमारी चर्चा कंस्ट्रक्टिव होगी। एक्सेलेंसी,
All All right, that was Prime Minister there making those opening comments in that very important bilateral with President Xi Jinping of China. Slipping to a short break, coming back on the other side with a lot more lined up on this big moment.
There is only one place for Yahya Sinwar. It's next to Muhammad Def, next to Randur, next to Ayman Nofel, next to all the terrorists that were responsible for the 7th of October. This is the only place we are planning for Yahya Sinwar.
لديهم القدرة على أن يتخذوا القرار ولديهم القدرة على أن يذكروا الطائرة ويخرجوها ولن يرمش لي جفن يتفضلوا.
The IDF recently confirmed that Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas and the face of evil behind the October 7th massacre, was killed in Rafah.
لديهم القدرة على أن يتخذوا القرار ولديهم القدرة على أن يذكروا الطائرة ويخرجوها ولن يرمش لي جفن يتفضلوا.
See the power of God. Touch. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus.
One more thing, that membership to Jemimah was given on honorary basis because she is an international player, plays for India.
Yes. So as far as her membership is concerned, absolutely, she is the pride of the country. We wish her well. We wish she brings more accolades to the country. There is no issue about that. The membership was given to her, being a Bandra girl, to come and use the facilities, hone her skills and do better for the country. तो वो privilege misuse जो उनके father ने किया, using her membership to book the presidential hall, and the booking was 1.5 साल की booking थी. हमारे members को जगह नहीं मिल रही थी. If I wanted to do a function or any member, the hall was perpetually booked. So to misuse that privilege is the issue. She should have come, played. We have highest regard for her. There are no two ways about it. It's just the misuse of her membership.
happened in the AGM about Jemimah Rodrigues' honorary membership, which was given to her due to her international player status.
Yeah, so when the motion came up for hearing and the things were explained to the members that this is what has happened, right? Our president was chairing the meeting, and when everything was put up, the House was really very upset to hear all this, and they were very.
All right, breaking news that's coming in. We have the first visuals of the attacker in the Ganderbal attack. This is the first visuals when terrorists had attacked and killed Hindus in Jammu and Kashmir. Ganderbal, the terrorists involved in the recent attack on laborers located in the Sonamarg area of central Kashmir, Ganderbal district, have emerged. The attack also resulted in the death of 7 individuals. The pictures of the terrorists involved in the Ganderbal terror attack have now surfaced. We can see those pictures on our screen. And viewers, we remember the heartbreaking tragedy and the loss of lives due to terror attack in Ganderbal. Let me go across to Gursimran. Gursimran, we have the first terrorist visual attack. We have the first visuals of the terrorist, a part of the Ganderbal attackers, when this terrorist attacked and killed many in Jammu and Kashmir. Gursimran, give us more details.
So what we are picking up from our sources that these are the first photographs that we have accessed. These are of the terrorists that were behind this deadly attack that has taken place. We are told by the sources within the Indian Army that by the tactical movement of this terrorist, it seems that he's a foreign terrorist. He's a Pakistani well-trained terrorist. While he was entering one of the premises, this video has been captured. Though we managed to get the screen grabs of this very video, this is a CCTV footage screen grabs that we have managed to access regarding the Ganderbal attack. What earlier we have picked up so far that the infiltration has taken place from the North Kashmir, Bandipora, and then the terrorists were taking the route of from Bandipora to Gund, possibly towards the Tulel side, and then following road towards the South Kashmir. When on way they have carried out this terror attack. It was roughly similar this time only, 7:05 to 7:10, when the terrorists barged into the camp of APCO Infratech company that was behind this construction that is taking place at the Z-Mode tunnel. And soon after getting this details about the attack, the forces were rushed to the spot, but taking the advantage of the dense foliage in the nearby areas, the terrorists managed to escape. Now the manhunt has been launched, and based on the investigation that has been carried out by the Jammu and Kashmir police along with the Indian Army, along with the state investigation agency, which is the Jammu and Kashmir's investigation agency, and also National Investigation Agency that has already deputed a team led by an IPS officer of SSP rank in the Kashmir Valley. They have carried out multiple checks of the CCTVs, and among those CCTVs that have been scanned by the agencies, we have got access to one of the screen grabs of this entire sequence. And now this terrorist is the one, what we are picking up from our sources, who was behind the attack. Now the sources are telling us that the way this terrorist has entered the premises of which these photographs are, the tactical movement shows that he was well trained, because the forces that have been following a pattern of the Pakistani terrorists that have come down to Jammu and Kashmir, that have been operating in the hilly areas, in the jungle warfare, that are trained for the jungle warfare, he has a similar look-alike tactics like that person, and that is why we are getting to know that these terrorists was moving in such a tactical manner, that he has been trained in that manner. Apart from that, it is believed that it is Lashkar-e-Toiba, though they have tried to give it a different color of an offshoot or a localized color, but it is a Lashkar terrorists that were behind this attack, because earlier what the eyewitnesses said that they have seen 2 terrorists. So this is one of the photographs. So it is highly possible that the other one is probably taking a shelter somewhere, or is moving behind this so as to give a cover. But these photos that has been accessed by Republic Media Network shows the terrorist entering one of the premises.
In fact, Gursimran, that's a fantastic reaction, the details and the live that you're giving us. I also want to tell our viewers, and I want to come back to you, why is this so important? Because what was attacked was the Srinagar-Leh highway that remains a critical infrastructural project designed to provide all-weather connectivity between Kashmir and Ladakh. Like you said, the Lashkar is also behind it, and they've tried to give this a regional color. But what are you picking up on the other people and the kind of sourcing they got? And also, aren't things already spiraling out of control for Umar Abdullah?
See, when it comes to the situation, the incident that has taken place, clearly it was a hit at the infrastructure, because this is going to provide a key edge to the movement of the forces towards the line of actual control. So that is also being considered, because see what has happened in 2021 when attacks started in the Jammu region. It was in the Pir Panjal where the attacks first happened, and then after the analyzing of the situation, the forces got to know that during the Indo-China LAC situation, when one of the key forces, the uniform force that was deputed here, it was moved to the Ladakh side, and then the terrorists tried to hit this place because they wanted to engage India on the two fronts, that is so that India do not get a time to look into any other side. So this could possibly be that plot, but for now we are not picking this up, at least from our sources within the Jammu and Kashmir police or the Indian army. Second thing that you have mentioned, that the investigation or the local hand, more than 43 persons, 43 is the number that we can confirm from our sources, that they have been detained for the questioning, and they are being questioned thoroughly round the clock by the Jammu and Kashmir police along with the SIA and the National Investigation Agency. Indian Army is also part of the investigation that is taking place. Second thing that is coming up out of this is that there is a possibility of the local hand, but till date the local hand who was involved is yet to be ascertained. It's been a couple of days of the investigation. Some of the dump call data are being assigned, are being analyzed. These dump call data are the mobile tower data of the nearby area that are also being analyzed by the Jammu and Kashmir police, so that they can get some of the breakthroughs. This is what I am being told by the officials, that this is a big campus and the terrorists barged into it, carried out brutal massacre of the civilians that were working here. This shows that they were well aware of this area's demography and also the exit routes, because one side, as my colleague Rawat was earlier mentioning when he was at the ground, that one side is totally covered with the fence. That means the terrorists knew that where to exit from. So this deep-rooted conspiracy is also being worked upon. Yes, this is a challenging time for the government, not only from the Jammu and Kashmir police, but also for the other security forces that are working here in Jammu and Kashmir. So is a challenging time for the LG administration and Umar Abdullah government, a newly sworn in government, that how they will tackle this situation, because Jammu and Kashmir has moved far from these attacks, these things. This has been a peaceful election that we have witnessed in Jammu and Kashmir, but once again the terrorists have tried to do what they are known for. So how the Jammu and Kashmir will fight with the rogue nation Pakistan that is trying to foment trouble, that is trying to give India 1,000 cuts, that is the strategy being worked upon. But one thing that has come forth after this attack, that there was no single party that has said that we need to talk with the Pakistan. Everyone in a single voice has condemned this attack, and that is what is needed at the time when the civilians are getting killed. Yes.
In fact, I also want to critically see if Mehbooba Mufti has said anything, but I also want to, Gursimran, ask you, like we said, this tunnel is a vital project to ensure year-round connectivity between Kashmir and Ladakh. Senior officials have met the LG, the civil administration, the police administration has all met with the LG, but the NIA that has also launched an investigation in the attack, it's also requested, the MHA has requested a detailed report from the Jammu and Kashmir administration also.
See, one thing is very clear, MHA is very particular about what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. Tomorrow morning there is a unified command meeting. That means the highest level of the security grade review meeting that can take place in Jammu and Kashmir for any contingency situation. That is going to take place tomorrow morning at 11 AM at Raj Bhavan in Jammu and Kashmir. That is what we are getting to know. In this meeting, not only the Jammu and Kashmir Police DGP, but also the Northern Army Commander, who is responsible for the hinterland security as well as the border security from Jammu, Kashmir to Ladakh, and also the BSF top brass will remain present along with the CRPF top brass and the intelligence officers, be it from the central intelligence agencies or from the state intelligence agencies. They all will remain present in this, and what they will do is that they will give a detailed action taken report, and also what will be their action plan in days to come, because the situation is challenging. These two are not the terrorists that are active in Jammu and Kashmir. The number of the active terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir is touching 100, and majority of them mostly 60 to 70 are the Pakistani terrorists. These are not the data that I'm quoting from any of the intelligence agency, but from the official Jammu and Kashmir DGP R.R. Swine, who was there a couple of days back. Now he has been replaced by Nalin Prabhat. He has given this data. So that means the situation is concerning, and that's why a new strategy is being devised by the Jammu and Kashmir police, that how to tackle these terrorists, how to neutralize these terrorists with the help of the sister intelligence agencies.
In fact, I also believe it's possible that in the evening today, Gursimran, Mehbooba Mufti has once again spoken up, and it's possible that she's advocating India-Pakistan talks shockingly after this terror attack. I think it's yet another politicization that should completely stop.
See, when it comes to the statement that comes from Mehbooba Mufti, she is a leader of the party that has won 3 seats. Though she has a number of voters on the ground, but at least at this time she should have avoided this. But see, since NC is in the power, the PDP is in opposition. PDP will try to do anything possible so that they can do to garner their votes. So that statement is purely to garner the votes, because we have also seen that some of the political parties in Jammu and Kashmir, they totally rely on the talks with the Pakistan, the restoration of the trade with the Pakistan as one of their key agendas to go into the elections. So the Mehbooba Mufti stating that probably is one of their manifestos point that she is once again putting up. But if you see this time, this is probably for the first time that a terror attack has happened, and no major political party, no major player, since at this given time it is the Congress Party, National Conference or the BJP, none of them, BJP never speaks of the talks with the Pakistan, so does the Congress under the pressure. But it is the NC also, they have said that Farooq Abdullah, who came open and said that we won't let Kashmir to become Pakistan. So this is very clear that the majority of the people have voted for those parties who don't want talks with the Pakistan till the time that Pakistan is sponsoring terrorism into Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes, and I also believe that I want to get more details on how the security has been tightened at the key infrastructural projects in Jammu and Kashmir after this attack, Gursimran.
Since morning we have been traveling in the outskirts of the Jammu region, because the majority of the highway developmental projects, they are in the outskirts. We have been to the Khadi area, we have been through Kandi also, where the developmental projects are underway, especially the tunnel projects that will cut short the time of travel for the locals as well as the security forces. When it comes to driving to the line of control, within it cuts short the distance travel by 1.5 hour, which is very important in the situation when it is neck-to-neck situation and you have to reach the LOC at an earliest. So there we have seen not only Jammu and Kashmir police, but also the village defense guards have been deployed, and also the private security. See, it is not possible to deploy Jammu and Kashmir police at every place with a handsome amount of troops on ground. So that is why what they have done, a couple of Jammu and Kashmir police Jawans along with the village defense group, those are locals, those who are well aware that how to tackle any situation, and then the local security of the company that is carrying out the projects. Also, there are some locals, sorry to mention, that CCTV cameras that are being installed. Somewhere it has been installed. The police has given the directions to the companies to install the CCTVs at their infrastructure projects, and then apart from this, what they have done, that it will be a live link that they will be provided to the nearby police station, so that the police can also have access to what is happening there. So these are the measures that have been taken till date, but tomorrow it is going to be very important meeting of the Unified Command, the highest level of security grade review meeting, and then the decisions will be taken that what will happen.
Okay, we have retired Colonel Shailendra Singh on the phone line. This is clearly an attack on our infrastructural projects. Retired Colonel Shailendra Singh, it's very clear that what they're trying to attack is the connectivity between Ladakh, between Kashmir, and this is clearly going to be seen as another attempt by the Lashkar to try and interfere, meddle, and cause terrorism in India.
Jai Hind, I can only tell you one thing. This is not an attack only on infrastructure. Such attacks are based on that where do they find, that kind of workers who are not armed, those kind of people who cannot even protest, those kind of people who cannot even protect themselves. Now that is where they would have done a recce also. They would have seen that yes, these are the helpless laborers who are there. Infrastructure is obviously one of the targets, but that is at a bigger level. At a smaller level, the terrorist is looking for where he can fire, he can kill, but he can get away, because that is what is his first aim, that he should be able to get away. So I feel that from each of such incidences, we should come out with better lessons learned and implement with immediate effect. Something like we can have all such projects which are strategic also, not only CCTV surveillance, but even a post of army, police or whosoever should be there nearby. The labor camp should be protected to some extent, give them that protection which is required. And on top of it, the intelligence network has to be activated, because I'm not worried about this one boy who has come and started firing. I'm much more worried that mastermind who's sitting in POK, why should he not be eliminated? Because he will do it again. He has got nothing at stake. Sitting there in POK under the protection of Pakistan Army, what can we do to him? I feel we should start doing to that. Those are the roots. Those are the mastermind. I'm very sure we have the wherewithal. If we can have his photo, we know that he is involved. He ought to be eliminated, not from my point of view, from the Pakistan point of view also, from the humanity point of view also. Pakistan has been claiming that, yes, they are also suffering from terrorism. So why are they harboring? Just because they are harboring, because it's related to India. So we have a right. Everywhere, anybody and everybody is doing it. Why can't we do it? I'm very sure that such kind of incidences will come down if the deterrence effect is draconic. You have to have such system installed, such reaction teams installed, that even if you do it, your shelf life should not be more than 24 hours. That is the lesson. That is, in fact, the public also ought to, cooperate and be anti-terrorist, that enough is enough. You will be losing your own people. You will be losing your own infrastructure. You will be losing your own connectivity, because all are for the benefit of locals. So I think locals also have a very major role to play against the terrorism, for, reporting it, for, fighting against it, for escaping from it and protecting themselves from it. The village teams needs to be created. That's it.
Yes, and as I want you to stay with us, I also want to ask Gursimran. Colonel Shailendra Singh critically points out the way forward here, Gursimran. We were speaking about the importance of the 6.5-kilometer long tunnel on the Srinagar-Leh highway that remains a very critical infrastructural project. It was designed to provide all-weather connectivity between Kashmir and Ladakh. Gursimran, I'm also seeing a lot of political parties trying to politicize this issue at a time when I could say this is possibly the deadliest attack in 2024 that has been witnessed. There are 7 people who've been killed. Security needs to be beefed up. But as the NI continues the investigation in sensitive regions such as this, how is it that the Lashkar-e-Toiba and these people who infiltrated into India can be monitored and be brought to book?
See, this is really very challenging, because there has been an infiltration. Jammu and Kashmir LG Manoj Sinha has himself accepted that there has been an infiltration that has taken place from the North Kashmir, and we are looking into it. There have been several encounters that have taken place, though this group is said to be a new group that has infiltrated into the Indian territory. That is what we are getting to know from the sources within the Indian Army. But yes, as you mentioned, that some of the political parties are doing so, but the people of Jammu and Kashmir have made it amply clear. See, those political parties who have been big in the number, be it the BJP National Conference or the Congress, they have never spoken about this, and that is what we are getting to know.
I also want to ask you, Gursimran, it says that this attack was, like you said, carried out under the orders of a TRF chief, Sheikh Gul. There's a 10 lakh bounty announced by the NI in 2022. These are certain intelligence officials saying this. But also give us the details of what happened. 8:15 p.m., 2 to 3 Pakistani terrorists armed with weapons stormed into the campsite, targeting the workers who'd gathered for dinner in the mess area.
Yes, it was similarly this time. It's 7:18 now. It was similarly this time 7:10. What we are getting to know that when these terrorists barged into inside this camp and then they attacked these. How many of the terrorists they were in the numbers of 2 as per the eyewitnesses they are saying. But for now, what the screen grab that we managed to get is of 1 only, and this is what the agencies are now looking into seriously. We'll be continuing with the scrolling coverage right after this short break on Republic TV.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
See the power of God. Touch. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus.
One more thing that membership to Jemimah was given on honorary basis because she is an international player, plays for India.
Yes. So as far as her membership is concerned, absolutely, she is the pride of the country. We wish her well. We wish she brings more accolades to the country. There is no issue about that. The membership was given to her, being a Bandra girl, to come and use the facilities, hone her skills and do better for the country. तो वो privilege misuse जो उनके father ने किया, using her membership to book the presidential hall, and the booking was 1.5 साल की booking थी. हमारे members को जगह नहीं मिल रही थी. If I wanted to do a function or any member, the hall was perpetually booked. So to misuse that privilege is the issue. She should have come, played. We have highest regard for her. There are no two ways about it. It's just the misuse of her membership.
Happened in the AGM about Jemimah Rodrigues' honorary membership, which was given to her due to her international player status.
Yeah, so when the motion came up for hearing and the things were explained to the members that this is what has happened, our president was chairing the meeting, and when everything was put up, the House was really very upset to hear all this, and they were very, very spontaneously. It just happened. Okay, please cancel our membership. We don't want such things happening in our Gymkhana, and we have to maintain the rules and the dignity of the Gymkhana, and we don't want. So there was no proposal for a removal or something like that by anybody. It just spontaneously happened with the members that we don't want such activities. Yes, we all promote sports. We are all for the sports. Gymkhana is meant for sporting activities mainly. These are just additional facilities that we give our members to use for their family functions or things like that. But it can't be used like this, is what all the members felt, and it was spontaneously decided by the members that cancel the membership.
In the second match simulation, I scored 25 runs of 37 balls.
तो
not out.
मैच में नॉट आउट रही, मैं 25 रन बनाए, बॉलों में
So I just want to thank and glorify God.
मैं परमेश्वर को धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ.
See the power of God. Touch. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus.
Congress raises questions on India-China deal. Congress doubts India-China patrol agreement. Why is Congress nervous about India-China pact? Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Director, the taste of success.
India-China deal. Congress doubts India-China patrol agreement. Why is Congress nervous about India-China pact? Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
All right, we are getting pictures from Kazan, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after a successful completion of the Brics Summit, is leaving, emplaning back for New Delhi and India. Prime Minister would be traveling overnight, takes about 6 hours, so well past midnight he would be landing back home. And Karan Verma continues to be with us in the studios. Karan, how would you see this Prime Minister's diplomatic assignment, participation in the Brics Summit, and of course that big bilateral with Xi Jinping?
Abhishek, I think this is India's moment in the sense that gone are the days when we were ever official. And India has pulled the chair and sat on the table. This is also a success of the culmination of efforts at our foreign diplomacy. This is what we mean when we say peace through strength. An iron fist in a velvet glove. Nowhere has India relented on any of its positions, and at the same time today, it's China that has actually wanted this relationship to blossom. China cannot afford to have hostile neighborhoods, especially at a time when they're staring at hostility in the West, amongst the Western democracies. And I can tell you this, America is looking at it with caution.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
The era of de-dollarization is right around the corner, and they sense that. And we are in a unique position, Abhishek, where we are a part of Quad, we are a part of BRICS. So there is no hegemony that can get to us in that sense.
Absolutely. And as the foreign minister said, we can chew the gum and walk as well. Prime Minister there leaving Kazan, Russia to come back to India, emplaning for his flight back to New Delhi. And this is after the bilateral with Xi Jinping that concluded a while back. India and China deciding to start the boundary talks again, stalled after the Gulf 1 clash of 2020. The last edition was held in 2019. Those would be led by the special representatives on boundary talks on both the sides, NS Ajit Doval on India's side and Wang Yi on the Chinese side. And let's, on that note, listen to Shawan Sen, who had spoken to Russia Today editor Ruslan a while back on the Kazan declaration of the Brics Summit.
Well, Ruslan, just to take forward with our viewers with regards to the big takeaways of the Brics Summit, 2 days, what, in your opinion, are the big takeaways of the summit?
Well, I would say, obviously, Prime Minister Modi's meeting with Xi Jinping is one of the most important events happening on the sidelines of this summit. But as we're going through the summit, the Kazan declaration seems to be one of the most important highlights. I'm still going through it. It appears to be massive. It's 43 pages long, and it's extensive it's as extensive as it can be. It covers such a variety of issues, from the regional conflicts to the issues related to the international agenda. So global equity, payment mechanisms. It's extensive, and I suppose this is one of the key developments and one of the takeaways of this summit. What I think it signifies is that each country, everyone has a seat at the table. Everyone brings something to this table, and everyone is listened to, and everyone is currently being heard, as we can see demonstrated by this declaration.
As far as Moscow's expectations are concerned, following the bilateral that took place, the Russian President, Prime Minister essentially once again spoke about the fact that it is through dialogue and diplomacy and not war that we can move ahead. What is it that Moscow is really expecting from New Delhi at this point in time?
Expectation is probably the wrong word for the kind of relationship that Moscow and New Delhi are enjoying, because we've seen both leaders and representatives of the state calling it a privileged strategic partnership. It's been developing for the last 80 years. So I think it's called partnership for a reason. And so there are no specific expectations. Both sides know the underlying interests and needs, and both countries know that they will follow their own interests and needs. But this is what makes this relationship so special and so pragmatic, let's put it this way as well. Obviously, India is one of the powerhouses and the centers of the emerging world order, and it brings incredible lot to the joint table of this BRICS partnership, right? For instance, we can highlight that India's role is essential when it comes to the reforms of global institutions like the UN Security Council, like development banks. Obviously, India's voice matters especially when it comes to establishing the BRICS payment mechanism, right, that everyone is talking about. In that respect, I myself find Prime Minister Modi's pitch or suggestion to use the UPI experience. I thought it's very curious. We were talking among ourselves, among the journalists here, and that was our forecast. In a way, we thought that UPI might be like an example, or that UPI example might be, beneficial. That being said, when it comes to bilateral relationship, I suppose Russia's been, for instance, paying attention to India's potential free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. We've heard Russian officials talking about that on the sidelines of the summit.
Well, Ruslan, the other big act that we witnessed was coming together of India and China, the bilateral that took place a short while back. The Prime Minister once again reiterating the fact that this is about regional stability and the message that has been sent across to not just us but also in West Asia. How is the world really looking at both the nations coming together and making the message that here is an example of regional stability and perhaps the template forward?
I think it'll definitely be one of the main and most important highlights of this summit. Both leaders coming together first time in 5 years, and I suppose Russia can take pride in bringing those countries or those leaders together at the table, and it does definitely signify that role that BRICS can be playing and the approach and the values that BRICS is promoting as working.
Well, thank you very much, Ruslan, for joining us and putting this into perspective as you get us those ground reports from Kazan.
Thank you.
All right, the Kazan Declaration, which was signed a while back, incorporating 11 major suggestions made by India, Karan, and big ones, two of them I'm getting for you. A new reference on sovereignty and integrity in the context of transport infrastructure. Perhaps this includes BRI, major concession, one would say, coming in from the Chinese to be including this. And another big one, in fact, the biggest one perhaps, a new inclusion on the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, India's language on terror, the manner in which cross-border movement of terrorists and the listing of all UN-designated terrorists and terrorist entities has been included, clearly shows that India really got its way on those areas which are of core concern to our nation. It clearly shows the heft of Indian diplomacy led by the team, leading the team, of course, Prime Minister there, who's on his way back now to New Delhi. Still in a short break, coming back, continue the conversation.
Congress raises questions on India-China deal. Congress doubts India-China patrol agreement. Why is Congress nervous about India-China pact? Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
See the power of God. Touch. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus. Say thank you, Jesus.
thing that membership to Jemimah was given on honorary basis because she is an international player, plays for India.
Yes. So as far as her membership is concerned, absolutely, she is the pride of the country. We wish her well. We wish she brings more accolades to the country. There is no issue about that. The membership was given to her, being a Bandra girl, to come and use the facilities, hone her skills and do better for the country. तो वो privilege misuse जो उनके father ने किया, using her membership to book the presidential hall, and the booking was 1.5 साल की booking थी. हमारे members को जगह नहीं मिल रही थी. If I wanted to do a function or any member, the hall was perpetually booked. So to misuse that privilege is the issue. She should have come, played. We have highest regard for her. There are no two ways about it. It's just the misuse of her membership.
Happened in the AGM about Jemimah Rodrigues' honorary membership, which was given to her due to her international player status.
Yeah, so when the motion came up for hearing and the things were explained to the members that this is what has happened, our president was chairing the meeting, and when everything was put up, the House was really very upset to hear all this, and they were very, very spontaneously. It just happened. Please cancel our membership. We don't want such things happening in our Gymkhana, and we have to maintain the rules and the dignity of the Gymkhana, and we don't want. So there was no proposal for a removal or something like that by anybody. It just spontaneously happened with the members that we don't want such activities. Yes, we all promote sports. We are all for the sports. Gymkhana is meant for sporting activities mainly. These are just additional facilities that we give our members to use for their family functions or things like that. But it can't be used like this, is what all the members felt, and it was spontaneously decided by the members that cancel the membership.
In a second match simulation, I scored 25 runs of 37 balls.
तो
Not out.
मैच में नॉट आउट रही, मैं 25 रन बनाए सब.
All right, after making that big impact during the Brics Summit, where India got to have its say in the Kazan declaration with 11 of its concerns and areas of interest getting reflected verbatim as India wanted.